and welcome to our show, Film Talk with AJ Dean. I'm AJ Dean, your host, and tonight we have a super special VIP author and screenwriter. His name is James Doc Mason, and he is coming out with a brand new book on screenwriting. So you're going to have to stay tuned. We're going to go over all the details. It's absolutely fabulous. Let's give him a super warm welcome. Hello, James. So great for you to be here. How are you?
Thank you, AJ. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm doing great.
It's just so, it's such a thrill to have you, James. You've done a lot of great writing. You've been a screenwriter for a long time. Now you're going to be having another book released coming up in September, a physical book and an ebook. And we're going to get to that in a minute, and that's super exciting. But let's do a little bit of a deep dive. But before we get to that, about how you got into screenwriting and became an author, I just want to give a special shout out and thank you to Kimberly Skirm. Hi, Kimberly. Thank you for introducing me to James and for referring him to us. He is such a delight. So just wanted to do that, right? Say hello to.
Thank you. Absolutely. They're wonderful people. I'm so
Yes,
happy that they put me in touch with you.
yes, they are. They are golden. And speaking of golden, we've got. I want to get into what you've written and the movies and all of that great stuff. But let's do a deep dive first of how did you get into writing when you were growing up? Did you major in it? Did you go to school? Tell us about your love for writing.
Well, as it turns out that my grandparents were both English teachers, so I didn't know that it was in my blood because my mother was the rebel. She was not a writer. But in high school, I just, it came so naturally to me, writing everything. And I took a poetry class and I wrote a poem that I didn't understand anything about subtext. And I just wrote it about candy. And that's all it was to me, was a poem about candy, an object. And for whatever reason, my teachers just flipped out. They loved it. They thought it was brilliant. And I'm not going to talk about the subtext, but uh, it was rather adult, and it was just innocent. And what I learned was two things. One is that a writing can have unintended consequences, and two, I really liked the attention. I really liked that people were responding to my poetry. And then I got into college, and I got a degree in advertising copywriting. If you'll remember, in the '80s, there was a TV show in the early '90s too called 30 Something,
Yes.
and um, yeah, a wonderful show about advertising. And as a young man trying to figure out what it is I wanted to do, I thought advertising copywriting would be the thing. And then um, in the early '90s, I um, had to get a real job, and because my wife got pregnant and with my oldest child, right? Now I have four now, but back then that was the first one. I had to get a real job, and I got a job working for, of all places, Blockbuster Video. And as it turns out, I had a passion for movies that I did not know, right? And that led to me owning a video store in the mid '90s, '93 to '96, where all I did was watch movies all day long. What an education. And I went back to film school. And by then I was a little older than everybody else in school. And so they looked up to me, and I'm like, well, you know, okay. I would rewrite everybody's scripts, and that's how I got the name Doc, playing poker with my friends and rewriting everybody's scripts. And then something crazy happened. I moved to Hollywood and directed a feature, and I did not like that at all. I did not like that. I mean, in film school, we were making films on weekend, no pressure. Everybody's having fun, but the pressure of you know being responsible for hundreds of thousands of dollars and having to make the right decision, just under pressure, wasn't for me. And I'm glad I found that out soon, because what I did discover is that my favorite part about making Trespasses was the fact that it was that I wrote it, right? And everybody responded to that. And I felt like, well, that's great. The problem was that Trespasses as a feature film uh, never got finished, right? So
Wow.
years later, I decided that I needed to finish it. So um, I I had the footage that we had, and I took it to an editing school and I said, will you edit this for me? Use it for uh, educational purposes, my footage. And they edited into a 23-minute short that everybody loved. It was like, what the heck? Um, and um, in the meantime, I had been writing and writing and writing, and I kept writing and kept having more kids, and you know, uh, and um, Trespasses went out on the festival circuit, and we didn't really win anything, but we got a lot of positive responses. And I thought, well, uh, I'm what I really wanted to do was I wanted to be the best writer that I could be, and um, and so I kind of just retreated back to learning how to be the best writer I could be, and trying to get the next project made without me as the director. And as you know, Hollywood could be a fickle master. It's a difficult thing to get a movie made,
Oh my
and
gosh. Yeah.
and so um, what I found is that I really and I've been working in advertising since on well I in this particular job since 2000, right? So that's been a while,
Yeah.
and I'm now an executive, and I'm now doing you know I'm not doing anything creative in the advertising agency, but that allows me to do the things that I love to do. And that's two things. One is to write, and two is to help people tell the story that they want to tell. And we'll talk about that more when we talk about my book. But um, the next thing that happened was that the writers group that I run in Santa Monica, one of the writers asked me to help him write a script that he was going to make called Caged. And um, be brief with that, it was a movie that they had a little bit of funding for. We wrote it in over the course of several months, and got a great cast of really fantastic actors. Eddie Gathegi, uh, he was well, in X-Men First Class. He played Darwin. He was in Twilight. You'd recognize him because he's the only African American vampire in the movie, right?
Amazing.
And
Amazing.
he was also the bad guy in a season of NBC's TV show The Blacklist with James Spader. And he did so well in that show, unbelievably well, that after they killed him at the end of the season, they brought him back to life and gave him a sequel, gave him a spin-off called Blacklist Redemption,
Awesome.
which lasted a season, but nevertheless, uh, that's how good of an actor Eddie is. And then the other star of that is Melora Hardin, who everybody knows as Jan from The Office, among other great characters that she's played. Like in, I think it was Transparent, she played a role, um, a major role. And she is the sweetest lady ever, and I hope to work with her on every project that I ever do because she's that great. um, and um, and then moving a little forward, another writer in my writers group asked me to help her with um, uh, a short that she wanted to write about. I had been bugging her since like 2009 to write an English language samurai movie. I mean, I could have written in Japanese, but I'd have to learn Japanese first. But the idea was that there's a whole market for samurai movies in English,
Wow.
and
Incredible.
yeah, and so um, again, I was able to help her write that, and we won several. Well, we were finalists in a lot of screenwriting contests that gave her the confidence to make the movie. And then once the short was made, it did so well. It won some minor festivals and showed in some major festivals. So it's
Phenomenal.
and now it's available for free for anybody to watch on YouTube. It has over 550,000 views without any marketing because it's. I mean, they just knocked it out of the water. I mean, I came up with the story. We wrote the script. I mean, but it was really the execution of the movie that makes it so great. It all starts with the script, though. So two people from my writers group, you know, are how I got there. Um, and then over the years, there have been other projects you'll see on the uh, Chakra Love was a friend of mine who I co-wrote a script with. He wrote a cute little romantic uh, comedy, and I just was there to help him to make that vision come true, which is honestly my favorite thing in the world to do is to help people uh, explore the vision and execute on that vision to its highest level.
I love that. I love that so much. You are a facilitator and you're a teacher also, if you will. I hope that's okay to say because I think it's one of the highest and most honorable things to be on the planet and help and teach others. And so thank you so much for that, James. And I just have to congratulate you on Caged and
Yeah.
Trespasses. And I love these movie posters. I'm just going to go back here to the, they're just phenomenal, beautiful, beautiful posters, very dramatic. And then also Yay and Chakra Love here. We see you've won awards. You've got 9 awards on Yay. And you must be so proud of these. And another award for Chakra Love. And so it's just so wonderful to hear your story and how you contributed to these and created this. You know, writing is in your blood, and I think that's in your DNA, and it's wonderful. It's really really and thanks to your parents. But I also
Grandparents mostly.
what's that, James?
Grandparents mostly. My mom was the, you know, she was not a writer. She was a reader, a voracious reader,
Yeah,
and you can't have writers without readers. We need a
that's
lot more readers than we do writers.
yes, yes, that's so true. And I did want to circle back also and say Blockbuster. Oh my gosh, I remember Blockbuster. I loved Blockbuster. I had a Blockbuster card, and I know a lot of people watching this will remember. It was so much fun to go to the video store and pick out, you know, it was exciting. You'd get in the car, you'd go there. It was a big event. That's all changed now, but I cherish those memories of going with my father and my family, and you were a part of that. So thank you so much, James.
Yeah. So one of the things that I think, um, you know, a lot of the time you'd go to the store and you'd browse and you'd check it out, but then you'd find this one guy, sort of like the Quentin Tarantino, who could recommend the great movie that you'd never heard of, right?
Yeah,
And
right.
that turned out to be me. I'm the guy who everybody came to. The only movies that I really wasn't a big, expert on was horror movies. But when it came to like the obscure foreign movies or the B movies, the Corman movies, I knew them. I mean, I don't know how. I must have just spent my entire youth in front of the TV late at night or something like that before the. But there was a guy who came into the store and who knew more about movies than anybody I'd ever met. And that's because he read those guides. They remember the movie guides that like Roger Ebert would come out with, and it had little descriptions of every movie. And he knew like everything. I'm like, oh my God. He goes, I've got 9,000 videos. I'm like, if you got 9,000 videos, you got more than a Blockbuster. You should open a store. And I said, if you ever want to open a store, let me know. I'll work for you because this guy, I could learn like everything I knew about movies.
So
And
cool.
so like a year later, he comes to me and says, I'm ready to open a store. And so I went and opened the store for him. And, and that was like the best learning experience. I got to learn everything about genre because, when you go into a blockbuster, you see, drama and comedy, right? But when he talked about genre, he talked about it like like so detailed and like what all these movies had in common. I'm like, what an experience.
Yes,
And
like
so
I'm sorry, like film analysis and lighting and depth of field and all different kinds of camera angles, that kind of thing, right?
well,
It,
I'm talking more about genres like
oh,
like romantic comedy and action comedy
okay.
and like just I'm talking about storytelling as opposed to
Oh,
filmmaking.
okay.
And so the Roger Ebert and these big books of movies that had the description, they became sort of like my reference material. I don't
Yeah.
want to say my Bible. I don't want to be, but they were really something that I looked at every single day. And by reading those things, my ear became attuned to how to describe a movie in very, very briefly. And
One,
we'll talk about why that's important in a minute.
yeah, yeah. This is amazing. So he was kind of like an encyclopedia of genre, drama, romance,
He was
comedy,
of everything.
action, all of that. Did he talk to you about film analysis, like opening scenes, ending scenes, film directors, anything like that, or was it just the movies that he loved?
It was interesting because it was film school in one sense, not because he was analyzing the film, but because of the things that he liked and the things that he could talk about. Um, uh, he's like, all right, these are the four movies you need to watch today. Holy moly, four movies! Like, all right, so I was watching four movies a day for years,
I
trying to
love
get caught
that.
up,
What a
learning about
dream, right?
all. I'm sorry.
Isn't that a dream to watch four movies a day?
Yeah, yeah. And not only that, but to learn about like all these great movies from the 30s and 40s and 50s, and
Wow.
like for instance, one of my favorite movies is Laura from 1944.
Oh, I love that. That was my dad's and my favorite too, as well. Oh my gosh,
Such a great movie.
so great. Tell me
Yeah.
what you love about it, James.
Well, of course, Gene Tierney is, absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
And so when Dana Andrews falls in love with the portrait, because she's so beautiful, um, you buy it. It's like, yay, she's dead, but he's in love with the portrait. And
Right.
then she shows up halfway through,
It,
like,
it's fabulous.
oh, holy moly, she's not dead. Then who the hell is dead? Well, that's the mystery of the movie. And it
Right.
had me going from the beginning to the end. It's like, oh my God, like Vincent Price is this southerner, with this great southern drawl. And I'm like, that's not the Vincent Price we know.
Right.
So, I mean, it's the mystery and how it solves the mystery um, um, with the detective, and it's just an
It's
all-time great
so good.
noir,
It's
right?
so good. I love film noir. I
Yeah.
love that too. And it's one of the best. And I'm so glad you shared that with us. It really is up there. And yes, now I want to talk a little bit now. I want to switch it up a little bit. And so I appreciate you so much that you love cinema and film. I just love that.
Mhm.
But I do want to switch it up and talk about mastering the log line, how to excite Hollywood with a single sentence. This is your new book coming out. It's
Mhm.
going to be a physical hard paperback book, hardcover and paperback book. Is that right? And then an ebook as well. Is that right?
That's the plan. I don't know that necessarily anybody will want to buy a hardcover, but I've got this. Oops, let's see if it'll come into focus.
There it is.
um, but
Perfect.
it's a real page turner.
Yes. Now it's
Um,
releasing September 1st, right, James?
September 1st on Amazon, and you the idea is that you could go into a Barnes and Noble and order it if that's how you prefer. And I'm hoping that I can have it in some small. I love the idea of these um, independent booksellers, but I'll have to make those contacts. So if anybody has any contacts with little bookstores that like to sell books about screenwriting, I would love to do a screening. I mean, a book signing at one of those little. That would be just like a dream come true for me.
Absolutely. So how can they get in contact with you? You're on Facebook, right? And
Facebook.
Facebook and Instagram. What's the best way to
Well,
reach you to
um,
get a book deal tour?
well, you can contact me at screenwriter@gmail.com, SCREENRIOTER@gmail.com, or just go to the website masteringthelogline.com, and you can just um, there's a contact page on there, and you can reach me through that.
This is fabulous.
Yeah.
Okay, I know that you'll this is going to be a great success. I want everyone to check it out. It's a
Mhm.
fabulous book. Thank you for gifting me a copy. James, I love it. And I want to read it thoroughly in detail again. And but let's talk about the log line. You put a lot of detail in this book, and you really break it down step by step. I love the detail that you put in, and you analyze each thing so that by the end of it, you're really comfortable about the
Yeah,
conflict, the protagonist, the antagonist, the excitement of the words. Let's talk a little bit about that, but that's just the tip of the iceberg.
sure.
Um, what and you go into what a log line is, and
Mhm.
you give examples. Do you have a favorite log line though? I wanted to ask you, do you have a favorite log line? I know in your book you have something from Star Wars.
I
Um,
have I have many different examples.
yeah,
Uh, um, I think the thing is that I don't have them memorized, but I'll tell you the one that was the hardest to write.
okay, let's
Um,
do that.
um, so one of my favorite movies of all time is Amadeus.
Oh yeah, that's a great
Yeah.
one.
And Amadeus has an observer character, and which is Salieri, and he is confessing to a priest about how he murdered Mozart. Right? That is essentially a wrapping story around the central conflict of um, Mozart's um, music, right? This contrast between Salieri and Mozart, and how Salieri, would give up anything to be a great uh, composer, and Mozart was this effortlessly brilliant composer. That's the central conflict. Is this idea that Salieri feels betrayed by God, right? For this, um, and um, and so the question is, how do you describe all that in a single sentence, right?
It's a
And
lot,
so,
isn't it? It's
yeah,
a lot to do.
right. So the idea is that you have to really focus on the central conflict, and the central conflict is not the wrapping story, the narrating story, or the context of the outer shell of the story. It's really between Salieri and Mozart. And so the idea is when I figured that out, it kind of unlocked this idea between, um, um, the main character and the opposition and how I should describe it. And when I think, if you don't mind, I'm going to, um, I'll look up the log line real quick for Amadeus.
Oh, perfect. That's wonderful. And in the meantime, I'll just say that you can also pre-order James's book, Mastering the Log Line, How to Excite Hollywood with a Single Sentence, because that's what's most important to the executives and the studios. That's the first thing that they read. And it's very, very important. It's an important topic because that's what the
Right.
scripts in Hollywood are all based on.
Right.
Back to you,
So,
James.
so let me just first say that um, in a log line, I talk about the elements of story that are necessary to describe the central conflict. And so this book is really an exploration of the elements of story. And so those elements, very briefly, because it's there's a lot to go into, but there's context and setting. There's the main character. There's opposition. There's what I call the trigger. Other people might call it the inciting incident, but I build on that. So it's not just a trigger. It might be a triggering event or a series of events. And there's also an epiphany. Excuse me. That makes the character aware of the consequences for not acting. Right? I'm getting into too many details here, but I'm going to go on to the other elements. There's goal. There's stakes and consequences, tone and style. There's a flaw and description, and so all of these things kind of play together, and in about 35 words, create a meaningful um, um, empathy with the audience through these elements. And it all happens within about 35 words. It's kind of crazy, isn't it?
It really is. And I wanted to ask you, that's amazing. So it is about 30 to 35 words. But
Mhm.
let me ask you regarding the studios, because they put a lot of money into their scripts. Why is the log line so important, James?
Right. So it's a very good question. And the bottom line is that there's just too much to read. And the reader has to have some way of filtering out what may be a very brilliant story, but may not have anything to do with the kind of movie that they want to make. Conversely, a log line may be, for their specific genre and just ideal for them. But if the log line is crappy, they can also know that there's probably problems with the story itself. So it's um, a, a good log line reveals um, um, so much about the writer and the story. And so there are the purpose of the log line though is to get the industry professional to read uh, the script, right? That and so when they are excited by the central conflict, when they know what they're getting into, they can get excited. If they, it's not like some clickbait headline where you know you promise that there's going to be conflict, right? That's
Mhm.
not what a log line is. That's actually a premise. A premise is the promise of conflict, but the log line is the specifics of conflict. It is really all of those elements, the the main character and the opposition and the setting and the context and all of these things that make it clear. So let me just tell you the log line for Amadeus and see if you can see the story in this one sentence. And this is, I think, 35 words. So, in 19th century Vienna, living in the ever growing shadow of the effortlessly brilliant but vulgar Wolfgang Mozart, a pious composer loses his faith and, to spite God, plots the murder of his young genius rival.
I think that's brilliant. And I loved the description of the words. There's adjectives in there, there's adverbs,
Right.
and along with the topic and the subject and the genre. And there's also descriptions of it. So description words as well. So that is
Figurative language. It's a whole chapter. I have a whole chapter and a glossary of how to use figurative language
figures.
to
So figurative language, is that what makes it flow so well and makes it musical, James? Is that
Exactly, right. In the book, I describe it as like a songwriter's best friend, figurative language. In poetry, everybody knows rhyming structure, right? And they know meter, but there's assonance and consonance, and assonance is when like the vowel sound at the beginning of the words. The consonants is like the consonant at the beginning of the word. And I have a list of about 20 in the book.
that's
So
great?
most of which, word choice is such an important thing when you're talking about just 35 words.
Yes.
Um, and and of course, the words are going to serve multiple masters, right?
Mm.
So words. So when I talk about, I kind of used a more formal uh, um, description of Amadeus, right? So it felt like it came from the movie, at least to my mind, it did.
Right. That's
Uh,
right.
it
Yes.
doesn't feel like a modern, you know, hip, um, sarcastic or anything. It feels very much like the tone of, and that's what, the use of figurative language and really being specific with word choice. Um, the thesaurus is our best friend in log lines.
I love thesauruses, and so it doesn't have to. Its purpose is to be impactful and powerful,
Yeah,
delivering in a concise, short, abbreviated sentence
right.
the main elements, the main action,
Mhm.
and also a little bit of a teaser so that it excites the studio executive to want to know more. So,
Right. So, if I could very briefly, I talk about the four promises of what gets the four things that can help get your script read.
oh,
And the
cool.
log line is just one, right?
Right.
There's if you have a good reputation, if people know who you are,
Yeah,
right? People might read your script.
true.
If you're recommended by someone else, their
Absolutely.
reputation, right? That'll get your script read. Maybe it'll get your script to the top of the pile. But those two, the writer has no control over. The other two things are the premise, which is the promise of conflict,
Yeah.
um, without the specifics of character or plot. And the one thing that the book is about, the plot, right? The log line. The log line talks about plot and character and conflict, narrative conflict, not just basic conflict, but like story level conflict, big time conflict, right?
Yeah.
So what the book describes is how to make that uh, uh, how to excite the executive with those things by making sure that the goals and the stakes are meaningful for the characters. If they're meaningful for the characters, they're going to be meaningful for the audience.
Mm.
And making sure the negative consequences for failure are meaningful, which means why does the main character have to succeed, right? Because if we don't know why they have to succeed, we don't know what they want. We Why are we paying attention? It might be because the actor's a good actor, or because your friend wrote it. I don't know, but really we're trying to create this bridge between the writer and what they're trying to tell the story and the audience.
Yes. And this is crucial because if the log line is not impactful and powerful and delivers the correct message representing the entire script, so it's quite a responsibility that then the studio may say no, right, James?
Well, exactly. And I'll give you another example from film history. When Some Like It Hot, do you remember this movie? Of
I
course,
love it.
everybody does. Yes.
Yes.
Did you know that the very first test screening, it tested horribly, horribly? Why? Because there was no expectation. Nobody knew the movie. They didn't know who was, they didn't know anything about it. And, so the movie opens up and it's this gangster movie, right? These two musicians witness the murder of, the St. Valentine's Day massacre, and they are on the run. And then it turns into a fluff comedy, right? Can you
Yeah.
imagine the disappointment for people who are looking for this gangster movie to continue, right? Um, so of course the studio said, let's make some changes. We got to make some changes. It was horrible. And of course, Billy Wilder knew that it was friggin' brilliant, made a couple minor changes, but did one major change before the next screening. He told the audience it was a comedy,
Gosh.
right? And what happened with the next screening? It blew up. Everybody knew it was going to be. I mean, everybody loved it. The riotous response. Everybody knew it was going to be a big hit, and it becomes an all-time classic. But if not, can you imagine if Billy Wilder had made other changes to try and acquiesce to the will of the crowd, right? Who had no expectations.
Yeah.
Expectations are everything, especially in the pitching of a project, right? If
Mhm.
we if you're in the elevator with an executive and they give you the permission to pitch them, right? I wouldn't just automatically just belt it out, but if you could say three things, you could really give them everything they need to know. The first thing is um, the premise, the big idea of the movie without the specifics. That's the promise of conflict. Wow, that's an exciting promise, right? And then say the log line, and now they know the plot, the central conflict. They know the main character, the opposition, and they know that there's specific, exciting conflict that they want to see. And the third thing would be something I don't discuss in the book, but I have a firm belief in, and that is that the writer should have uh, a what I call a thematic statement. They should know how they want to tell the story from their perspective, right? And so with those three things, the premise and the log line, the they have all the things that they need to know for the story. And with the thematic statement, they know how you're going to why you're the right person to tell the story. So
Beautiful, beautiful. I love that. And I wanted to also circle back and thank you so much for sharing that because that's a great summary of what's most important, the important elements of the story to represent it. And I wanted to circle back and say I loved Marilyn Monroe and I loved Jack Lemmon and of course our favorites, Tony Curtis, all of them. And
oh,
also and it's also a feel good. It's very fast in the beginning, but it's a feel good, and then it starts to calm down after they change, get into costumes, which I love that aspect of it because it's fun. And then the music happens, and it's so much. It's a feel good movie. It's funny, and of course, I love I love the how they banter back and forth with each other.
and it has one of the best last final lines of a movie ever.
Yes,
Nobody's perfect. Just saying that, and we're laughing because it's such a great, perfect ending.
it's true. It's true. And I loved it in being in black and white. And that was Billy Wilder, you mentioned.
An
And
IAL diamond. Yeah.
wow, what a mastermind
Yeah.
director. And we're just so thankful to have, you know,
Hmm.
great,
Right.
brilliant, yeah, brilliant directors and writers.
Yeah.
Um,
And in the following year, they came out with a movie called The Apartment, which won the Academy Award for Best Picture, and I think is the only comedy to ever win the Best Picture.
wow.
And through the book, I go through three examples as I'm going through. I give hundreds of examples, and I break down about 45 different log lines. But um, three of the log lines I go through in detail after every chapter. We end with the exploration of that element, using the apartment as one of the examples. Lord of the Rings is another example. So, and Guardians of the Galaxy.
I
Um,
love that.
so, and the other thing that I should say about the book is that it's not just a passive read. I'm asking the reader to take the time as they're doing this to explore whatever story they're working on and go through the elements. And I give the tools to go through each of the element uh, before we come to the end of the book where we're bringing all the elements together and reducing it down into a log line. Um, so it's hands on.
Yes, it's a beautiful book. It's absolutely beautiful book. I want to recommend everyone to support you, James, and check out your book and buy it and enjoy it. And because I know you will, it's one of the best books out there. You write very, very well. It's a pleasure to read. From what I've read, it's very, very easy to read and understandable. And I did want to ask you a special question because I love the design. You know, I'm a graphic designer and I love the design of your book cover. So, who designed the cover of your book? And tell us about that.
Okay. So I have a um, genius daughter. She's 14 years old. She's just going into high school. And she is quite the artist. She's an animator, and she does like anime style, uh, really fantastic. I mean, when you think about, like juvenile artists, you think, you give a lot of credit to the fact that they're just 14. Well, this young lady does stuff that blows my mind. And I asked her if she would help me to design not just the cover, but the ornamental art that goes inside. If you notice the cover, she designed the entire cover,
Wow.
but the she chose the colors, she chose the framing. I wanted to convey the idea of we're looking into story, like we're looking using a microscope to look into story, and she came up with this little idea of a microscope looking into a book, very literally, and she
I
drew
love
that.
I love it.
Yeah. And it looks so, to me, it just looks
It's
unbelievable.
perfect.
I'm so proud of her for this. This is one of my favorite parts of the book is the fact that my daughter did the cover for it.
Yes, I'm so proud of her too. Do you want to give her a shout out and
I,
thank you? What's her
yeah.
name?
Her name is Zhenya Mason. She goes by Sunny because that's her personality. She's just so sunny. She's such a sweetheart and so caring. I'm glad to acknowledge her for this. In fact, um, uh, if you need to hire, I'm just kidding. She's
Sure.
going into high school next week is the first day, and and she's going to take graphic design as her elective.
Oh,
And I think she's going to be the first professional because I paid her for this. I didn't get this for free. Don't. I'm glad to pay for it too. But
that's
she's going to be the
wonderful.
first professional to go into a high school class.
She's going to do great. And I just wanted to say hi, Sunny, and thank you and acknowledge you. And it's a beautiful cover, Sunny. And also, I see you, Sunny. I love the ombre effect that you have on there, the changing of the colors. I love the colors that you chose and the format. And there's a little bit of vintage to it with the font. And I appreciate that so much. And it's beautiful. And so and I love that microscope into the book, looking into it. It's just a fabulous concept and it delivers it. And I love, even on the back cover, you can see she's added the detail of the microscope with a little bit of, a
Like
little
an
bit of,
open book.
yeah.
That's the ornamental design that you'll see throughout the inside of the book whenever there's a section change. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah,
So I see why you're so proud of her, James,
thank you.
and because it's beautiful and it's really wonderful, and I just love the colors and everything. So well done, Sunny. Well done. And yeah, so I wanted to do that. And now I did want to ask you, will you be going on a book tour? Or you're open to it, right? Are you open to national, local? What types
Well,
of book tours are you open,
I'm
James?
I'm not sure. I'm doing this all on my own, and I've never done it before. So if anyone has advice, I'm welcome to listen to anyone's advice.
Mhm.
I'm not sure about a national tour, but I would uh, definitely love to do a book signing, and I'd love to talk to anybody about the book and um, and so the pre-orders aren't up yet. They'll be up any day. It was supposed to be up, but I'm it's probably going to be Monday or Tuesday before they're up for because Amazon itself doesn't do pre-orders.
Oh,
In
okay.
order to do a pre-order, you have to use a different service. So so there's some uh, hoops that I have to learn how to go through in order to get it up for pre-order. But if anything else, I don't know if anybody watches this right now or if they're watching it in the near future. It will be available on September 1st for order. And the idea of if everybody could do it on the first, that would make it awesome.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about two things. I'm getting some really great reviews. I got a forward by the senior story editor at William Morris Endeavor. His name is Christopher Lockhart. And he gave me such a glowing endorsement. I'm so happy. And another script consultant, Michael Klug, who is just a great guy, gave me a great blurb, which uh, I'm waiting on others to, because it's such a big book. I'm waiting on others to give me their blurbs. And so, if anybody is interested in, please leave a review or a comment on Amazon after you've read it, or um, if you need to read it before, if you want to write a blurb for the book, please get in touch with me, and I'll make sure you get a copy early.
Beautiful. Thank you so much,
At a
James.
limit, I can do that on a limited basis, but
Yeah. And it's very special. So thank you for that, James. Um, you also write a newsletter. Where can people sign up for that? You have a newsletter, is that right? Or do you still do your do you have a newsletter on your website, or do you have a writing group that people
I,
can?
I I have a writers group that I have a small writers group. We meet online. Um, I don't do a newsletter. I will do promotions for the book through an online thing through the website. If somebody
Okay.
wants to do that, I'll what that'll do is it's it's more of a marketing thing so that you can become a member of our basically what they call a book army. That helps people to promote the book and all the help I can get through recommendation, through um, through liking and and I hope to have more marketing things in the future. It's just that um, I got a lot going on.
I understand. I
So
understand. Well, you're doing great, James, and I know it's going to be very successful for you, and very proud of a very well written, beautifully um, executed ebook and physical book. And so, congratulations.
thank you so much, AJ. I appreciate all the this opportunity to share my little baby with the world. It means
It's
a lot
wonderful.
to me.
It's wonderful. Any other shout outs or anybody else you'd like to mention? I know you mentioned a couple people there that helped you. Anything
Mhm.
else that you would like to mention or promote?
Um, there's a lot of people who have been so incredibly supportive, um, and it'd be kind of unfair to mention some and not mention others, right? So let me see. I do want to mention that Kimberly are working on something, as you know, and I'm going to keep quiet about that. But I am so excited to share this
Yeah.
and I'm sure in the future maybe we'll do this again to talk
Yes.
about that project. But let me just say that um, um, my dear friend John Ford, who for more than 20 years he and I have been trying to get this movie made,
Oh, wow.
and um, I'm going to say that I value that kind of support and commitment. And that the one thing I can think about the filmmaking community is we find a family, where we choose our family,
Yeah.
and uh, we've got this new family, and I'm so excited. Um, so
I am too. I am. Thrilled. I'm super excited as well. And I have such a good feeling about it. And I won't say any more, but it's wonderful. And in the future, yes, we'll definitely have you on and maybe John. And if Kimberly on as well, oh my gosh, I'd love the whole family all together. We could just promote it. Wouldn't that be fun?
that would be so much fun.
I'll look
Yeah, thank
forward
you
to
to all
that.
my writers group friends and all the people who gave me feedback. And this is a labor of love, more than 2 years in the making, and I am so honored to share what was in this little brain of mine with the world, um, and I hope it contributes to Hollywood making better movies in some small way.
Yes, it's so needed. It's so needed because there isn't a lot of books about the log line that go into such detail and such explanation. And I
Right.
appreciate that. It's like um, reading your book is like a master class with a professor. So we appreciate your knowledge and your expertise, right?
Yeah,
All of that experience, it's
yeah.
worth something. It's important, isn't it, James?
Right. And there's dozens of movies in there that you may not have even seen, and now you're going to have to go and watch them because hopefully my description of them makes you want to go, "Oh my God, that I want to see that movie."
Yes, I love that. And I know a lot of the film aficionados will love that too because they always like to find out good movies to watch. I know I do. Okay, well, you know what? It's gone so fast.
I know,
I'm
so
so
fast.
sorry. We're going to have to start wrapping it up. But before we go, I wanted to ask you your heart message for the world because we always do our heart messages.
Uh,
And also, afterwards, James, I would like you to hold on the line because I have a special message, a special gift,
oh,
uh, a connection that I would like to connect you with a person. Okay, so we'll talk about that
wonderful.
after the show. Okay, it's my honor and pleasure and privilege. But my heart message is just like James put his brilliance um, on pen to paper and digital ebook now as well. I also want to encourage everybody else out there to, if there's something on your bucket list or if there's something that is on your heart to do, please do it now because tomorrow is, a gift. Today is all we have, but do it now and make your dreams come true. So that's what I wanted to encourage everybody. That goes along with because this is a dream of yours, isn't it? This book, James. Take it
Absolutely.
over to
I,
you.
I think that I start out the book with my philosophy of writing, and the philosophy of writing is to always, seek to understand. So I'm going to leave it with the opening quote, which is by me in my book. There is no better feeling for the writer, for any human really, than to be understood. However, to be understood, one must first seek to understand.
Wow. I love that. Oh my gosh,
So,
that is so beautiful. I can't top that. That's eloquent and exquisite in every way, James. As such a prestigious author and screenwriter would say, you've got it. You said it eloquently and beautifully. So I'm gonna have that. I'm gonna have you um, be the final word on that. But thank you so much, James, for being
thank
an
you so much.
excellent guest. And I look forward to the next time that um, we're together again, and also promoting our a project that we're working on. And so until next time, au revoir.
Arigato.
Arigato.